cross the finish line. I look up at the timing map, and it just sinks into me like, holy I just won an Ironman.
Guys, we have a guest, my Ironman coach, but elite Ironman athlete, Chad Bykerk. I'm going to give you guys a quick little intro to tell you guys how impressive this man is. Recently, 70.3 Monterrey champion overall, going 3 hours and 56 minutes. Give you guys some relevance of that. Entrepreneur Dan Martell went 6 hours and 14 minutes. Chad beat him by 2 hours and 18 minutes. Chad's also two-time podium at Ironman World Championships, once in Kona, once in St. George. This is the more impressive part. This is what I love the most. So Chad went 8 hours and 43 minutes in Kona. Our boy David Goggins went 11 hours and 24 minutes. So Chad beat David Goggins by 2 hours and 40 minutes. So these times are insane. Chad's accolade speaks for itself. The thing that I'm most excited about is there's so much that goes on behind the curtain that most people don't know about Ironman. And so the first thing, let's talk about the people that don't know really what Ironman is. They know it's swim, bike, and run. But Chad, what is an Ironman? What's the distance? And how can you explain to people that don't know about it?
Yeah, so Ironman is really born out of a grassroots, if you will, triathlon that started in Hawaii. So that's where a lot of the roots start, is in Kona, Hawaii. Was really an endurance event in which they wanted to see who are the best athletes. Are they swimmers? Are they bikers? Are they runners? And basically started a distance that is comprised of a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and then if that's not enough, finish it off with a 26.2 mile run, which is a marathon.
In like insane conditions, a lot of races, right? So there's not just Kona, which is Hawaii's conditions are insane if you've ever been there.
Yes. There's
races around the whole entire world that are different conditions, different elements too, right?
Yeah. There's, I would say 50 plus races across the circuit for full distance Ironman, many more at the middle distance. Courses can vary, depending on elevation, climate, etc. So you take the World Championships in Nice, right? That's got 9,000 feet of elevation gain on the bike. Mm-hmm. Much different course than Kona in its own different way, right? Where it's got a lot of different challenges versus a course like Kona where you're really facing the heat and humidity.
And I think a lot of people don't recognize this about the sport too is, yeah, it's a lot. So like, let me give relevance of this. So yeah, the swim 2.4 miles, a lot. And if anybody's tried to swim that does not swim, it's just you feel like you're dying. So that's in itself. We won't even talk about current or anything that happens on these courses, but like that's already hard. 112 mile bike ride for relevance of people that are local here in Orange County. That is from Newport Beach to Palm Springs. That's just the bike row. So like that is, to put that into relevance is crazy. And then again, if you're not just done there, now you get off the bike and you go for a marathon run after. And so it's not just this thing. And here's the difference is the average person, we looked this up, goes between 12 and 13 hours on a full distance Ironman, right? And so the average person will do it and they're just trying to survive it, right? They're not trying to go fast. They're trying to survive. You, when you're feeling like you feel good, you push harder. So there's a difference between racing and surviving an Ironman. That's what we'll get into because your journey is so fascinating about where you started, why you got into it, which we'll get into it. But now being an elite athlete, which we have rumors that you might be turning pro next year. So we'll probably get into that, which is absolutely insane. And so I think about an Ironman athlete as the top athlete in the world. From a discipline standpoint, the thing I love about the sport is you can't fake it. You cannot take shortcuts. Like everything surfaces on race day and you're like, oh, okay, the guy took shortcuts. So before we get into your story, I want to give my audience a little bit of top asked questions on the internet. I'm going to cue in Jake too on a few of them. But the first one I have for you, and this is from the internet, the average person. Yep. It's not people that are in the sport. Maybe there's people watching that are like, I'm interested in Ironman. Yep. Maybe they turn this off because they're like, I'm not going to do that distance anymore. I'm going to definitely not do this. But the first question is, what does finishing an Ironman do to a person that nothing else in life can?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think finishing an Ironman is more about the process and what it takes getting to that start line. If you look across the board for an average person and everything that they have to dedicate to get to an Ironman, the day itself is the reward. Yes, it's hard. There's going to be grueling hours, but it's 12 to 13 hours, right? As you said, for the average person, it's a snapshot. It's the weeks, the years, the months leading up to that event that those people are putting in the day in, day out sacrifices, right? A lot of these people work full-time jobs, have families. They're waking up 5 a.m. to get a session in before dropping their kids off at school or going to work. So I would say it's really synonymous with life. These athletes or age groupers, if you will, are really putting in the time and energy towards a goal. And I think the amazing thing about Ironman is you get exactly what you put into it out of it. So I think for a lot of these athletes, they're not just signing up for an Ironman and showing up with no fitness. Only a stupid person would do that, and you'd be DNFing the event very, very quickly. So I think a lot of these athletes recognize the discipline and the hard work it takes to get to that start line. And so I think when you first reach that red carpet for that first time and you've been there, it's the goosebumps of like flashback mode. Okay, like all of those early mornings, all of those late nights, everything that I've done is finally for this one moment. And man, I've never done heroin, but that feeling is probably close to it.
Yep.
And that's what I'm still chasing to this day. Like every time I hit that finish line in an Ironman, it's a high that I cannot describe for our listeners.
Yeah.
And that's why I encourage all of you, go do one, because it is the greatest high you will ever experience. It's probably up there with maybe seeing your first son born, right? It's just this goosebump feeling where you've put so much effort into something. You've battled that whole day. You're going to go through ebbs and flows out there, and to finally get to that finish line, achieve such a goal where, you know, you can brag about that one thing you did for the rest of your life. I mean, how many people can say in this planet they've done an Ironman? Very few. So, I mean, if you do that, right, you're already within the 1% of the 1% in this population. So kudos to any of our audiences that have done an Ironman. If you're ever thinking about one, challenge you to just get started. And it doesn't need to start as an Ironman. Start with a 5K, start with a 10K. And, you know, enter the endurance community, see how awesome this community is and what it has to offer. And I think you'll quickly find your legs.
Speaking of heroin, our sponsor today is, I'm just kidding. So the funny thing about that is you see the most tears and emotions in the swim before and at the finish line.
Yep.
And that's what captivated me the most. The first Ironman that we did, Ironman 70.3 Oceanside, Jake was there filming, and it was just a crazy goal. We didn't really know anything about it at the time. But we all were there on the beach, and we were seeing the energy before you enter the water and the nerves. I mean, I still feel like the shattering, like the nerves of everybody around when you're in transition, setting your bike up. It's just, you can't explain it. And you can see the videos of it, but once you're in that energy and you feel all of it, you can't explain it, right? And then you look at the finish line, if you look at the finishers and you realize that their dream and sacrifice have come true. It's why you see grown men crying, and it's such a great. So I couldn't agree more. Jake, I wanted to cue you in. Let's ask Chad a question about what you're thinking.
Yeah. Okay, so going off script a little bit, but that's okay. I think if someone has clicked on this podcast, they're probably interested in doing an Ironman. And despite your advice, they might jump straight into a 70.3 per se. You know, it's like gaining traction among like the younger crowd especially. So for someone who's taking that jump in, like what's the biggest thing that they can do that won't set them back? Like what would you say is the number one setback for people who just try and go all in?
Yeah, I would say the big thing I see with just amateurs that are entering the sport is intensity control. A lot of them don't have an aerobic foundation, and they're not doing the easy work easy enough. It's really making sure you're doing 80% of that work at zones 1 and 2 for a standard 5-zone model. A lot of people, unless you're coming from an endurance background, you really need to increase your aerobic force. So it's just staying disciplined with that intensity control. And I would say consistency is king. It's stringing together not 1, not 10 workouts, but hundreds of workouts that will really move the needle in the long term. So think that's the beauty of Ironman. There really is no shortcut. You got to do the work.
I think that's what we go for it.
I can attest to this a little bit because I mean,
Yeah.
you and I both know like going too hard in the beginning, it's
Mhm.
like ignorance is
That's what I
bliss
said.
until it like causes problems. Like to this day, I think I have Achilles tendonitis because of an all-out 5K that I did just out the gate with not enough training.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so funny because like people ask me like, why do you do Ironman? And it's not for the physical aspect of it. The physical now it's fun. It's addicting to see your growth and now what you can do on the treadmill and outside running and biking and swimming. But more so like I've carried this sport into everything in my life where there's nothing else that I've found where it exposes you so quickly. So like in basketball, right? If I missed conditioning or weight training, you don't know if you see it in the game, right? It's the reason why Michael Jordan's flu game really wasn't a flu game. It probably was that they was hungover, right? And like he could still drop 40. And Ironman, you can't. I mean, the main video in Ironman is the crawl, right? And it's the two girls that are crawling in Kona and they didn't have their nutrition and they're bonking. And people don't realize, like, I bonked for the first time because my first 70-mile bike ride, I didn't take any nutrition at all. And next thing you know, I'm on the side of the road, not moving, calling Megan, my wife, and being like, you need to pick me up. She's like, what? I was like, I cannot move. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so the whole thing exposes you. And if you carry that into every single part of life, you realize that it's not about being a hero one day, right? So if you look at like investing, it's not about the one day of investing. It's about the compounding of how can I allocate my cash every single day and not wait for one big win. To just over time, if you just keep stacking these wins in business, how can I focus on the metrics and the numbers? How can I focus on improving my employees and giving them what they need? And just, it's every day. It's not trying to be a hero. It's not trying to go to Jake and say, I'm going to have one conversation with Jake to inspire him that's going to carry him through. No, it's being there for Jake every single day in small parts when he needs it, right? And so everything that I've learned from Ironman has translated into my life successfully. Because we know how expensive the sport is. I mean, a Morton gel, which, you try to take on maybe 3 to 4 an hour, right? $4 each. And so everybody sees the $30,000 bikes, not even with upgrades, right? They see the shoes are $250 for the Nike Alpha Flies and Vaporflies. They see our wetsuits now are like $1,800. And so they start to stacking like how much money it is. But I calculated in the last 5 years, I've spent $285,000 on the sport of Ironman between travel, coaching, equipment, all of that, right? And so if you told somebody you're going to spend over $250,000 to go get this silly goal for me, qualifying for World Championships, would you do it? And someone's like, no, what? Like, that sounds ridiculous, right? But what they don't see is the 5 years that, and you've been a big part of my journey, have molded me as a person. I'm a different person from 5 years ago, Jared, to now.
Yep.
And it wasn't just the fitness. It was the mindset. Now I can do anything now, right? That's why Ironman's thing is anything is possible. So it translates into that. So that kind of leads me to segue, about your story, which I think a lot of people don't really know why you got into the sport and what really drove you. Because when I found this part out about you, it started putting the pieces together. So let's start in 2019. Take me back to like what got you to actually get into the crazy sport of Ironman.
Yeah, so I grew up playing water polo, just a little bit about my background. And after college was kind of just in an empty spot. Like I'd go to the gym, lift every day, play some intramural basketball, but like wasn't really doing anything, and secretly still had kind of like an itch to like get back and compete. And, it was by complete circumstance that I started finding endurance sports. One of my good friends, ex-water polo teammates, and sorry, this is hard for me to talk about, but he took his own life in 2018. And as a result of that, I started to, maybe as a way of punishment, I had some guilt inside after it happened, but I started just lacing up my shoes and going for runs. And I was never a runner, always a swimmer, but it was just a way where I could like get outside my head and maybe just, feel some pain. And as I started to run more and more, I found like it extremely enjoyable. And as I started to do cardio again, I got back in the pool and I was just getting conditioned again, and I felt really good, and healthy. And so I'm talking with a good coworker of mine, just hallway conversation, and she's like, oh, you look so fit, you know, you're running, you're swimming. Have you ever thought about doing a triathlon? And I kind of just like was nonchalantly like, yeah, you know, it's always been on the bucket list. Like, I'll do one day. Like, yeah, it's certainly of interest. And that's where we kind of left the conversation. So 2 weeks go by, my birthday is right around the corner, and my coworker gives me a birthday card. And in that birthday card, she says, surprise, I signed you up for a local sprint distance triathlon. This is Pacific Coast Triathlon in Newport Beach. This was my first triathlon. And I had about 8 weeks to train for this thing. Didn't even have a bike. My friend lets me borrow her husband's hand-me-down road bike. And for everyone, like I know you were talking about the financial entry to the sport. Like you don't need the $1,000 bike. You don't need all this expensive equipment. Maybe at the very high level you do, but like my advice to those people is just get started. Anyways, I digress. So I go and train for this thing. I go buy like 3 books off Amazon, just read them page to page, try to absorb everything I know about triathlon, and just show up to this thing as well prepared as I could, right? Like I didn't have a coach, just doing what I could as an athlete and trying to be a student of the sport. So I go there, and you know, it just was an amazing day. Like it was so long since I had competed again, and just that adrenaline rush that you talk about as you're waiting for that start, right? The gun goes off, you know, you're just hitting the water. I felt so present. Like even though it was just a sprint, I felt like it flew by. Had just a lot of fun and a great day out there. You know, I had no idea what I was doing, and still had a very good result. I think I was second in my age group, probably top 10 overall. Local sprint. So right, again, maybe not a huge result, but I was like, hey, like I'm actually not too bad at this thing for training, you know, 8 weeks and, you know, not really knowing what I'm doing. So the week after, you know, I'm kind of just listening to a podcast. I think it's Joe Rogan and David Goggins. And I'm kind of just like, Goggins is kind of challenging the audience actually to like get outside their comfort zone. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do an Ironman. Like the next week I sign up for Ironman Texas. And so I'm like super motivated. I'm starting to train for this Ironman that's coming up the following year in April. And so I'm training. And all of a sudden, right, March of, was it 2019, the pandemic hits, or is it 2020? 2020, right?
Yeah, 2020.
2020.
Yep.
So March of 2020, you know, the pandemic hits and Ironman Texas is canceled. So I don't really know when the foreseeable race is going to be. And that's where I continue to just train in the dark. And it was a great time to really work on this new hobby, this new craft, because we were in lockdown. You know, everything was shut down. I was now not working in the office, but I was working from home. I had a ton of flexibility. And so whenever I wasn't working, I was training, or I was nose down in the books, learning about triathlon and how I could get really good at this thing. I wanted it so badly. And it's funny because just rewinding a little bit back in 2019, as I'm starting to become a fan of the sport, I watched Kona for the first time, and I see Jan Frodeno breaking the tape, holding that banner up, and the helicopters circling over the Queen K. And like, I didn't even know what Kona was, just like goosebumps hit. And I was just like, one day I'm going to race that. And little did I know it would come so quickly. I thought it was going to be this 10-year project, right? Like I didn't know I had this talent or this innate ability. So that kind of kicked things off in this quest for triathlon. And, you know, we can get into how that progressed, but yeah, it was really during the pandemic where, you know, I just worked in the dark. I almost reinvented myself from someone that had a past of alcohol, drugs, partying, fraternity, like just, you know, and refocusing myself and applying that energy, and whether it was negative or positive, into something new and something that was healthy.
We're going to get into the story more, but if you guys look over Chad's left shoulder, you got a little bowl up there, and that's actually a Kona bowl. And that was what, 2019, you saw a video, you got inspired, right? It's like kind of what we're talking off the record about Conor McGregor, which is like believe, you know, achieve. And like believe, conceive, achieve. And I think about that, and it's like you now have proof behind you. And it did come faster, but it was every day of stacking days, like 1,000+ days of just consistency and stacking. And I think that's where the dream starts. Is it doesn't just start. It starts with vision, but then it takes its course when you have courage to act on it, right? And I think that's the coolest thing about the sport is a lot of people. There's so many excuses that you probably could have had during the last 5-6 years of. You could have stopped like most people do, but we kept going. And we'll get into the full story, but I want to make sure people see that bowl is not just a random bowl. That's years of you dedicating yourself, and now you holding that, which we'll get into that story. Before we tap into farther in your story and we get into the grassroots and the first Ironman you did with Waco, I want to go back to the thought before COVID with your friends. So was that because you had a lot of shame? Was that because you felt guilt? Why did you even want to lace the shoes up? Was it because your pain was so heavy that you were just like, I just want to get rid of this pain? Or what was that mindset of why you actually did that?
Yeah, it was heavy pain. I mean, I did have some guilt. The week before I was moving houses, he had reached out to me just to, go grab a beer. And, I was like, hey, I'm just super busy. Let's chat next week. And, that following week I got the news. So obviously, as a good friend, you don't know if like he was reaching out as a last resort or an outlet. And, I did have some guilt about, hey, maybe if I had dropped everything and been there, would that have changed anything? Right. But he was a guy that was an upperclassman. I mean, when I played water polo, was a leader on our team, always took me under his wing. And so it was just so hard for me. It was my first friend that I've really lost, like I haven't lost any family members. So it was like really my first like incident where I was close to death. And it was my way of coping. I just felt like I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of guilt, and I didn't want to turn to drugs and alcohol anymore. Like I had seen what that had done to some of my friends in college, and I was like, enough. Like I need to find a healthier way out of this. And that was my way of coping.
Those are times that you have him in your head during hard times in training and hard times in races that gets you to push harder.
All the time, yeah. And sometimes I'll even race with a band that says "Love Like Charlie," that I'll race with. But I always think about him when I'm racing. Like it's kind of funny because like when I'm in dark times within a race, I always kind of think to myself like, this is just a snapshot in time. Like think about someone that struggles with mental health, like how long they're carrying that with them. Like this is nothing compared to what other people on a day by day carry with them. Like get out of that. Like you use your strength, like keep moving forward. Right. And that's where I think like I can really use Charlie to help me perform in races, because like I have that in my head of like, just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. It will get better. Just keep moving forward.
It's crazy because the thing that when I look at you and your success, right, you see the surface level. You see the picture in Kona with the American flag. You see you winning Monterrey, holding the banner. First time I got to race with you was Ironman 70.3 Santa Cruz. And I'm going out and you're coming back in. And probably TMI, but I just pissed myself on the bike because I didn't want to stop, right? So I'm covered in piss. And so I run next to you and I'm like, Chad, I just peed myself. And you run past me. And you're just focused, bro. I was like, oh, bro, probably wasn't the right time, right? I'm having fun. This is my first race that I'm like having a good. I just pissed myself. You're locked in focus. And I mean, you're putting a good effort and you're racing it. And when I saw the look on your face and even, fast forward a year later, I said, what's up to you before Ironman 70.3 Oceanside. I think this was this last year. And I saw your focus the morning of the bike, and you were so locked in. And it gave me chills because as kids, especially with me being a pretty good athlete in high school, I remember running out of the basketball tunnel with a bunch of people in the stands, and you get that feeling of that, the focus and the locked in mentality. And then when you get as an adult, like it's not the same going to LA Fitness or 24 Hour Fitness and playing pickup, right? You just don't really get that competitive nature again. And so when I saw you and I saw how locked in you were, I just thought the guy has a lot of passion for the sport. And then when we started talking about your story and about your friends, it kind of clicked for me where I was like, there it is. you got this leverage that's so much bigger than most people. And so when it gets hard, you don't just think me, you think I'm doing it for somebody else, you know? And so it started to make sense on why your mentality was such more of a leverage for you to perform the way that you are. And it's always interesting because the people that are such high performers are usually running towards things to run away from things too. They're using it for coping. And a lot of people will kind of just sit down and not do anything about it, right? Go to drugs, go to alcohol, and turn to the things that think the most convenient, because there's this void in you that you try to fill. And that's when alcohol and drugs start to come into place. And so what I love so much about you, and it's so interesting because the timing of it for me is fascinating, that you lost your good friends. And if you ran to alcohol and drugs and then COVID hits, and now you can't go to the gym, and now that's when people went crazy. They weren't able to work out, like all these different things. And so that's why most people did turn to biking, swimming, or running, because you could do that, right? And so I see God's hand on you, where it's like, you know, bad situation, but then now I'm going to take you because you've impacted so many people. I know you impacted me more than you've ever known. But it's really cool to see the backstory. So that leads me into, now let's start talking about, you know, your first Ironman. So obviously Ironman Waco, you know, Texas was going to be your first one. COVID then hits. You're not able to actually do that race for the reasons of COVID. Then Chad's just like, you know what? I'm not going to wait around. So let's go into that story. What was your first Ironman?
Yeah, so because Ironman Texas continually got postponed, it's a full year later. And, you know, I know Ironman Texas isn't happening. So I'm like, enough's enough. Like, I've been training for this thing for 18 months. Like, I'm doing an Ironman. So I get some friends together, and we basically planned a local grassroots Ironman here in the South Bay of Los Angeles, which was awesome to like just tell you. So we started that course over at Tower 26, then biked all along PCH out and back kind of to Camarillo, and then ran from Santa Monica all the way down to Redondo. So it was just an epic course. Had some friends join me along the way. We actually raised a couple $1,000s for a local charity here called Keen LA that does sports for kids with special needs, which is something that I was very passionate about and still am passionate about. So yeah, you know, it was just such a cool experience to do, like my first Ironman surrounded by friends and family in the place I grew up. Even though it wasn't a sanctioned one, I still raced it like it was. Like I still, you know, pushed it to my limit. I learned a lot in terms of nutrition, really like struggled on the second half of the run because like I took the first half out so hard, feeling so good, and just learned a lot about nutrition, how to properly pace an Ironman, which I think the silver lining was it really taught me a lot when I actually went into Waco just, 6 months later. So
before we get into Waco, I want to make sure people understand this. So my first full Ironman was Ironman Switzerland. And when Chad says he's doing Grassroots, I don't think people realize that how hard that is, because there was a time, and I can speak for myself, and I think you might agree with this, but when you feel the energy of the crowd and you feel the cowbells out there, it gets you through. Yeah. And you have other people that are with you doing the same thing, and it's easier to do things with a group than it is for you. And I know, you know, we're going to pop up the video because we had the video of you doing this Grassroots Ironman. It looks like you had a buddy on the bike with you, and you had some, but it's not the same, bro. It's not the same as like you're at an event, and the build up and the taper week and all that. Just kind of like you kind of feel like you're locked in, and also when race starts, now you're ready to go, right? Yeah. And so not having any of that, and I want to give some relevance. So, and Jake, you're going to have to fact check me on this because I can't remember exactly what I went for Ironman Switzerland, but I think it was like 12 hours and something. It was just under 13, but it was 12 hours and something. So Chad's first Grassroots, he went 10 hours and 2 minutes. Crazy. That's crazy.
That's without closed roads too. So I'm like losing a lot of time on the bike, just to be fair.
So for sure, you beat me in my first one, which I trained for, that would have been a year and a half at that point, or maybe a year. And I had a coach, and, you know, I had good equipment and all this other stuff too. And so by you beating me by almost 3 hours on a makeshift one just shows the natural talent that you have. So yeah, that's 2021. We do the full distance makeshift one. You know, you raised $2,500 for charity. You found out that you're underfueling, poor pacing, which is kind of a joke when you say poor pacing, because that means my pacing was awful pacing. And then also you had some GI issues. So you learned a lot in that race, but then we then go into where it wasn't, your next race wasn't Waco. It was actually your first 70.3, I believe. Or it was, you went to, it says that you were at 70.3 Oregon, right? Is that right?
Yeah, that wasn't my first one. I did
Was it Arizona?
Arizona in 2020 before my first full Ironman.
Let's get into that because that is a crazy performance. And that was in Tempe, right?
That was in Tempe.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the great town of Tempe.
Yeah.
So I did 70.3 Arizona as well. So Chad went 4:49. He got 31st overall. And this is his first 70.3. And that was the first race he ever did for 70.3. He then qualifies for 70.3 World Championships in 2021. So take me through that day and like what you learned in Tempe. And I'm surprised you don't have 12 fingers with that water in Tempe Town Lake.
Yeah,
that thing is disgusting.
It's funny. That was my second ever triathlon, so I'm still very new. I just got a tri bike, but no race wheels. Did the swim without a wetsuit because I was like worried it was going to be too warm. So just like wearing tri suit. Still so new to everything, and like my goal was just like go out there, have a good day, learn, right? And did I think I was going to podium in my age group? Like, hell no. I didn't know that was a possibility. I learned a ton in that race. I mean, just my first 70.3, like I think I didn't even realize like how hard I could go. Like I kind of felt like at the end of the marathon, I was like, oh, I think I held back a little bit. Like I was kind of scared, just like the distance was so much to me, like a 5-hour race, 70 miles, like, damn, this thing's going to be brutal. So I probably like underpaced it. And it's kind of funny, like as these things and you progress, like these races almost get harder because you just find your limit more and more. So yeah, it was a beautiful day. You can probably see like my finish line photos, like how stoked I was just to finish my first half Ironman. I mean, it was really, really cool experience. And I didn't even know that I qualified for World Championships because this is during COVID. So they have no awards ceremony. Basically, the way you were notified was like an email 48 hours later. So I would get this news from an email and I'm like, wait, what? And like, it was almost this sense of like imposter syndrome. Like, wait, like I don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't real. Like, like why was I selected? And like,
let me give the audience some background on that because so to qualify for World Championships in every race, there's only a certain amount of spots. Now, it's a little bit different in the way they do it nowadays, but in the past, it was just like you have your spots and then it would be a roll down process, right? So after the race, you get your bike, you head to awards ceremony. They usually go through all the awards of all the different age groups, right? So you have age groups of, 18, 24, 25 to 29, onward all the age groups, right? Then you have World Championship roll down ceremony. So they'll call out, the first people. If they don't take the spots, they will roll to the next, right? And so usually you go there with an understanding of like, okay, I probably am getting this or I'm probably not getting this. So what Chad's saying is like he wasn't able to even do that. It was actually just them sending an email out. And I mean, you for sure podium. I mean, you definitely... Now knowing what you know, you probably would have been like, yeah, I'm going world championships for sure.
I didn't even know I podiumed. Like I thought a podium was a top 3. So like I get my trophy in the mail. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, but my friends in triathlon had to like tell me like, oh no, like your result was really good. Like I didn't really realize, like
really
I was
good.
Still so new to the sport.
Yeah. And it makes sense because like your swim background really helped with the capacity going into it, so it's translating so well. But obviously, like you had so much to learn. You didn't have the best equipment. Coaching wasn't still there. So like this is just now you on like the first foundation before you start building.
Yep.
So then it takes me into Ironman Waco, which I just did 70.3 Waco, which is the one I qualified for World Championships. A lot of thanks to you and your coaching and everything you helped me out with. We have a documentary that came out and we got you on the phone and everything you told me
I
was
watched
so
it.
accurate.
Yeah.
You're like, it's going to be hot. And at first I was telling Jake, I'm like, bro, we've been to Hawaii. We've been to other places. Like it won't be that bad. Brutal heat. So, and I did the half, so you did the full. So let's take me through that because that performance was incredible. And I think that's the first time that you probably thought like, we really got something here. So let's go through that whole entire race. Let's break that down.
Yeah. I mean, Ironman Waco was a special day because it was such a long time coming. It was like, 2 years after I was supposed to do an Ironman, like finally I'm here, like goosebumps. Like this is what I've been waiting for. Like I've worked in the dark for so long. Like this is the time. And like I was just like, so excited to finally just rip my first real Ironman and be there. So it was an amazing day. Starting with this swim, like I did my thing on the swim, swam off the front, first out of the water. So this is kind of crazy. Like I start the bike, and because there's no pro race, it's just an age group only race. Like I've got a police escort on the bike, and I'm leading the race. And this is like another thing. Like I'm starting Ironman. Like it's another moment of like imposter syndrome. I'm like, wait, did I cut the course? Like, am I where I need to be? Like, what is going on? Like, how am I leading an Ironman right now? Obviously, you had some strong guys pass me within like the next 20 miles, but I was in the mix all day. I mean, finished top 5 overall, but, you know, it was a crazy day, you know, and I learned a lot. Just another day of highs and lows. It got extremely windy on that bike. I actually lost my elbow pad. So at the time, it was just like those Velcro elbow pads. So basically my elbow was just on Velcro for 50 miles on bumpy roads. Like the whole thing was just bleeding and like blistered.
So what he's talking about is in the aero position, you have these pads on the bottom when you're in aero. And so usually there's some pads to help because you're on the arms the whole time. And your bike was probably close to like, what, 4:30-ish, around like your 4 hours. And
I think closer to 5 hours.
5 hours.
Yeah.
So he's saying that pad came off and he's literally just on hard surface Velcro in that position.
Yeah. So what I actually had to do at a point is I put like a martin gel under my elbow. So like it just had some little bit of padding, but it was a fairly flat course. So you're like, I don't want to ride out of aero. Like, so I'd have to take occasional breaks just because my elbow was hurting me so bad. But yeah, anyways, that was just funny, you know, and it's just the little things of an Ironman, you know, where it's just a day of highs and lows. So you just got to fight through that. Starting the marathon, I think I was in like 4th or 5th overall, and man, was it hot. Like it was a 90-degree day with 90% humidity in Waco. And, man, I loved every bit of it because like you could see the carnage out on the course. And like, I was just like prepared for it. I was like, let's do this. And it started to get really, really hot and hard after the first half marathon. And, you know, I had some people feeding me information like you're first in your age group by like 10 minutes. And I'm just like one foot in front of the other. Like you're going to Kona, man, you're going to win your age group. Like and that adrenaline just carried me the rest of the race, to be honest. Like, yes, I hurt, but like it was nothing compared to like the want and desire to just get there. And so, yeah, like it was a great day. Like I thought the day that I had on the type of conditions for that day, like it was a very strong performance. And so crossing that finish line where I was at, you know, and to go sub 10 in my first Ironman, to win my age group and, you know, qualify for Kona, it's just, it pinched me.
9 hours and 44 minutes in extreme heat and humidity. The course is not easy. I think a lot of people underestimate like the wind on the bike and all that. You got first in your age group, 5th overall amateur, and a Kona qualifier, which is insane. So it's like, now, and you're saying that that's a realization right there where it's like you actually have something, right? It's
Exactly.
like, all right, we can now start to take this thing a little more approach. Did you have a coach at that time?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then after that, what was the next goal for you?
The next goal really was Kona. I mean, that's what I was kind of focused on, and just going and enjoying Kona, but like having the day I knew I was capable of. But it was actually funny, like, you know, fast forward into 2022, I had signed up for Ironman St. George. And this is just because it's 6-hour drive away. It's fairly local, great Ironman to just jump into.
Amazing.
Before I did Kona and just prepare me.
Was this the full distance?
This was the full distance.
They had that.
And then, you know, a month after I'm signed up, they announced that it's the World Championship. And this is because kind of that trade-off, they couldn't hold it in Kona. And so I'm like, wait, like what happens? Like I already signed up. Are they going to send me a refund? And Ironman's like, well, if you already signed up for the race, you're in it. And I'm like, great, I'm in a world championship.
Yeah.
Like let's do this. Let's race the best.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was awesome. You know, St. George being so close, I actually got to go out there with my good friend Goo, do a little bit of a training camp, like, train the course and everything. And I had already done it previously for the 70.3 World Championships. So I was like familiar with St. George, really liked that course, great climbs. And yeah, it was a very, very challenging World Championship course. For those that don't know, I think it was a little over 8,000 feet of elevation gain on the run, on the bike. And then the run was just like up and down, probably 1,800 feet of gain over a marathon, which is...
You go out. So St. George, one of the most beautiful, this is a fun little side story. So Megan and I, when we got into the sport, we just were obsessed with it because I did the first one at Ironman Oceanside. Then the next one, this was during COVID years. The one that I did was actually September, October, and then they did it again in April. And so then me, Jake, and Megan did that one in April. So it was our whole entire team out there doing it. So then after, we're all hooked. We're watching all the Lionel Sanders videos and the vlogs and the Kona stuff. And so Megan and I were like, we got to go to Kona to experience it. Not the World Championship, just to go out there to see it all. So I got to see like the sign in Kona, right, where the finish line is. And I got to swim the course, and we're obsessed with it. And the next week was Ironman 70.3 World Championships in St. George. So we're like, let's get a flight and let's go there. So we literally go out to Snow Canyon, and we got our camera, and we're out there watching the pros go by. And you know how it is. It's dead silent in Snow Canyon. You can't hear anything besides birds and all that. And all of a sudden, you got Magnus Ditliff coming through, and you hear just ride the bike, and then just flying by. And we're just like, oh my gosh. And we were hooked after that. And so to give you guys relevance of that course, which is, I think, one of the hardest courses out there, you're climbing heavy into Snow Canyon, and then you rip back into town, and you guys did 2 loops for the full, right?
It was actually like a bigger loop
one.
Yeah, so we had a much bigger climb before Snow Canyon. Snow Canyon was actually like the last thing you did. It was like around a mile 105 before you descend back into town, right? So that was like the last little push, but much more climbing before that. So
and then you got the run, which is just you're going uphill a 5K, and then you're coming downhill, which the downhill people think is easier, but actually it's more fatigue on the legs, I feel like. So it's just brutal the whole way through.
Just the demands muscularly on the quads from all that downhill. It was the most wrecked I've ever been muscularly, like after a race. Like I could barely walk.
Well, and the conditions are just so like random too.
Yeah.
Like you have rain, then you have heat, and like it's just all over the board. So okay, so then that gets us into, right, we go into, your makeshift, we then go into your, Ironman in Waco. And then we head out to Ironman World Championships St. George. But by the way, you went 9 hours and 30 minutes, and you got 4th place podium at a World Championships that you weren't even technically like supposed to go to, even though you qualified for Kona, right? So like obviously you're fast enough. But when was the point of the race for World Championship of St. George where you knew that you were in the podium position?
So I had friends and family there, and I start the run, and Jenna's like, you're in 4th. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I have a chance to podium here? Like, let's go. And it was actually funny because, like, Goo he's in a age group above me. It started a little bit further back, ahead of me. But he got a penalty. So, like, we ended up actually starting the marathon together. We ran out of transition together. Sick. And, like, Guru at the time, and he probably still is, a stronger runner than me. And he's like, the only way you're doing this is, like, you need to stick behind me. Like, he wasn't having a good race. And he's taking it out hot. And I was like, you know what, Goo, I don't think I can sustain this effort in this heat. Like, you go ahead. You run your marathon. And I just stayed my own race. And I think that decision was the best decision I could have made on the day, because if I had chased Goo, like, yes, my first half marathon would have been faster, but it got so hot, so brutal. And I knew the demands of that course and what was coming up. And it was just like, stay patient, stay patient, stay patient. So yeah, I was able to really actually put a strong marathon on what that course was. I mean, it was 90 degrees that day too. Very hot, hilly course, not a fast course. And yeah, to go and like hit an Ironman PR from Waco on a course that is significantly harder. I mean, yeah, things were moving in a really good direction.
Yeah, that means you PR'd even more if you put the comparison between a Waco course, which is still a very hard course, but not much climbing at all, obviously, pretty flat. You do have some wind, but St. George, you got the elevation. So it's not comparable, right?
Yeah.
It's not even comparable at all. And so for you to go 940, right, or 930 at World Championships, which is absolutely insane. After you going a makeshift one, you're going Waco, and then you're in St. George. Then it gets into your first Kona experience in October of 2022, because you race, correct me if I'm wrong, but you race St. George World Championships in May 2022.
Yep.
And then you turn around and go out there in October for Kona,
Yep.
which is very demanding. So before we get into Kona, just give me this real quick. This is for me. Comparing St. George to Kona, what is harder?
I felt like Kona was harder. Just the heat and humidity out on the Queen K. There's no spectators. It's just you and the athletes. It's sick, but it's beautiful. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, I love it. I like not having spectators out there. I like how desolate it is because it's just tunnel vision. It's just you and other athletes. So that's the beauty of Kona. But yeah, the heat and humidity in Kona, I mean, just nothing quite prepares you for it. I mean, you see athletes and how hard they break down. I mean, let's rewind to World Championships, this past year with Taylor Knibb and Lucy Charles Barkley. I mean, the best in the world are dropping out of the race. And, Taylor Knibb with 2 miles left in the race is pulling out from heat exhaustion. So there's nothing that can quite prepare you for that, especially racing at a high level. You're still running at close to your limit, right, in these type of conditions. So for me, Kona is it's a special race. It's the Super Bowl of triathlon, and there's this aura that Kona has about it that just, frankly, you can't have it any other race but that race. And
let's go. Okay, let's go into Kona now. First time you land in Kona. You're in Kona now. You now are in, but people don't understand too is like Kailua Kona is a very small little area, right? And so when you get all those athletes and their families, and that's the crazy thing about World Championship, right? It's like there's so many people confined in this one area, all for the same reason. So take me through the whole experience. You land in Kona. You're now gonna do freaking World Championships in Kona, which is insane. So like, what were you thinking, and what was the whole experience?
Yeah, the first time I stepped like off that airplane in Kona, I mean, you don't even have like a true gate. You take the stairs down, and like, it's hot, it's humid, and as soon as I took those first steps on Kona, I had a connection with the island. And people describe this, and I don't know if it's the Polynesian culture and this connection, but immediately I had a connection with Kona. I just felt something in my body was just like, this feels right. This feels great. Like, I'm supposed to be here. And it was a magical feeling. And maybe it was just like this lure and myth and this dream that I had, and finally like being on the island and being able to realize it. And then, it's race week. You see everyone there. You have all the fittest people in the world. It's a little bit intimidating, and honestly, you're like, race week, I try to avoid it a little bit because you can really get in your head. But the beauty of it is you have all the professional athletes training right next to you. I mean, you're swimming with pros. You're surrounded by the best age group athletes in the world, and it's just beautiful. And like, you're in the coolest conditions. You've got dolphins jumping out of the water, while you're swimming. I mean, it's just truly something like I couldn't like see, like, I had to be there, and to finally have that feeling, like, it was so special. And I remember that week leading up, like, I was invited to kind of a breakfast in which Dave Scott was speaking some words of wisdom to amateur athletes. And he said something that resonated with me. And he was like, out there on race day, whatever you give to the spectators in this island will give back to you. And I've always taken that advice and applied it, not just in racing in Kona, but just racing in general. And I think people that see me race, like, I try to always, like, race with heart, race for fun, like Sam Long, and guys that I look up to. But yeah, it was that advice that I think I really needed, because I was so intimidated. Like, you go out and, like, run in Kona and like you'd wave to someone and they wouldn't wave back. You're like, wait, what is this culture, right? And I was like, we need to change this. Like it needs to be the vibe that it used to be. And that's what I wanted to try to bring and leave my mark on Kona is like, let's go out there, let's race hard, but let's have fun. Like, let's show guys a good time and let's party, you know, out on the course, you know, let's play some air guitar, let's slap some high fives. And so that's really what my first Kona was about, was like learning, going out and celebrating this first like real world championships that I qualified for, you know? And so, yeah, that's really what it was for me.
So it's interesting because the field was absolutely stacked in our age group.
It was.
You had Matthew Markark was the winner in your age group, and you had Justin Reilly went 5th in the age group. Yeah. And that just gives you, and those are two of the best in the world right now, pros. And they were in our age group. And so, you know, obviously you go out there just to kind of take everything in. You still get 18th in your age group, which is super impressive. And I want to make sure people understand, like, World Championships is a whole different game. You go to Ironmans and people are usually pretty fit, but you always have those people that, you know, maybe train 3 or 4 months and, you know, they're not as fit. They're still fit to do it, right? You go to World Championships, I don't care if it's people in their 60s or 70s, they are in better shape than people in their 20s and 30s. Like, it is so crazy to see, like, the top athletes in the world. And so when you actually are in a World Championships, you're looking around just thinking, like, oh, anything is possible. Yeah. You see, like, the age group winners of people in, like, the 70s to 80s, and they're like, dude, they look better than what I do in my prime in my 32.
Yeah,
right?
And even 2022 was special experience because it's the first year someone with Down syndrome had completed Kona. That's Chris Nikic, and Jenna and I actually stayed after and watched him finish. We were in tears, but it just, like, that experience, like, yeah, like you see so many amazing athletes on that start line with you, and for me it was like a celebration. Like, I just wanted to go there and learn, and I didn't really have this goal of this crazy result. I knew, like, the level there was going to be so strong. I was like, let's just go out and have our best race and go and learn how to race this race.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, before we get into, because then we're going to skip into your real Kona experience, which is where that bowl is behind you. Before doing that, I hear a lot of people that talk to me, and there's a lot of, when you talk to an Ironman athlete, there's no excuses. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. And just like you said, you know, Chris Nikic is Down syndrome. There was another guy that had his leg blown off and he still did Kona. I think that was the same year. There's been people, and I hear a lot of people say, like, oh, I would do an Ironman, but my knees hurt, right? Or, you know, there's always these excuses. And when you stay later at an Ironman and you stay in the 70.3, you stay around like the 7-hour, 8-hour mark, you see people that shouldn't be out there and they're doing it anyways. And so there really is no excuse. Anything is possible. So whatever's holding you back, if you ever wanted to change your life and try an Ironman, it doesn't matter about the time. It doesn't matter about, like you said, you don't have to spend a bunch of money. I think these are all excuses that people put in their head where it's like, oh, I can't do it because I don't have the finances, or I don't have the time. I don't have all that. It's about finding it. It's about realizing that your mind is limiting you to whatever you want to do. And if you limit yourself, that is your limit. Ironman's about breaking that ceiling apart and going through the roof, right? And so we're going to get into the real Kona experience, which I love the most, because mind you, you're going from, I'm just going to do the sport because, you know, I just, you know, it sounds fun and I'm coming through a part of, you know, losing my friend and there's a lot of things that are happening, to then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, imposter syndrome. How did I just get, you know, 70.3 World Championships in Arizona? Okay, now we're at the front of the race in Waco. Did I take the wrong turn, right? So you see how your mind is refining itself of just like, I can't believe it, even though it's reality. And now we're in Kona and, you know, there's no big goals. It's just like, it's what I'm going to be in Nice this year, by the way. Like, we're going out and enjoying. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, it's just because that's my goal. This is the championship for me. But do you see how my mind isn't where you are yet? And I'm about to break that barrier. And then it's like, now what's next? That's the whole point of Ironman. That's the whole point of just like, you don't know your level until you meet your level. And then the level gets higher and higher. And you just keep going. So now we go into Kona experience, which now we're going to fast forward into 2020, I believe it's 2023, right? That's when you went to
2024.
Kona. 2024 Kona. I'm not going to tease anybody on what actually happened because your overall time was absolutely absurd. So before we get into that, the phase from you going Kona the first year to this, what was the differences you did in your training? Maybe it was different coaching, maybe it was different tactics, because the overall time was significant PR.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a little bit. It was significant. So what were you doing with that years leading up into this race?
Yeah, so it was 2 years past the last Kona because the World Championship that year before was in Nice. I had a great race there, but I'm not so much of a climber that I don't think that course really suited me. 10th overall, or 10th in my age group, so still very good result, and wanted to keep kind of progressing that. So really my goal into 2024, and I thought, like, when I made this, I was like, damn, that's an audacious goal. I don't know that I can achieve it, but let's go for it. It was top 5 age group, getting a podium and a bowl in Kona. So I did change coaches in 2024. Andrew Yoder, I think, was a big part of my success in Kona. We really made sure going into that race that I was dialed in from a metabolic perspective, really training my aerobic floor around my Ironman, which I think is really a key to Ironman success. But the other part of that is the heat protocol and cooling strategies that we took into Kona. We basically would do a whole heat adaptation protocol going into Kona. And then something that I felt like was a huge advantage for me is I went out to Kona 2 weeks prior. I did some big training out there, got used to the environment. You can get so adapted, but a huge part of that adaptation is also the environment. I'm not going to get it here in Los Angeles. It might be hot, but we're not getting that humidity, that 10 out of 10 UV index. So really going to Kona and having some time in the environment to get used to that pre-race, I think, was a huge advantage that I had over my competitors.
The heat protocol, explain that, what you're doing here.
Yeah, so basically, to kick things off with the heat protocol, we typically do about 10 to 14 straight days of heat acclimation. So this is done on the bike. So basically, I'll wear like a painter suit or like all my ski gear. We get my core temperature up to a certain point, and then we look to hold that for a certain allotted time, and then we just do that consistently. So looking to increase blood plasma volume, and then once we've really hit those main adaptations within that center time of that 10 to 14 days, then we enter kind of a maintenance period in which we do 2 heat sessions a week to maintain that adaptation. If you don't use it, you lose it. So this is the thing about heat adaptation. You have to continue to signal the body. So basically, those maintenance sessions are to continue to signal the body to hold on to that. Otherwise, your body will just say, why am I carrying all of this extra hemoglobin mass, and rid it. So basically, we continue to do that maintenance into Kona. And then a huge part of that was then obviously the environmental phase of, introducing some good quality training in the conditions themselves.
Love it. Okay, so we get into Kona, you land, you're now trained up, we're in taper week. You did a little bit of training, you were there 2 weeks before. How confident were you that you were going to perform on the day?
You know what? It was actually the exact opposite. I was a little nerve-wracked the week leading up. I was there with another training buddy out of the UK, and we were training together the whole time leading up, and he is just obliterating me in my training. I'm a better swimmer, but can't hold his wheel on the bike, much better runner than me. And I'm like, man, I don't know, is a top 5 here possible? The level is just so high. But, I was kind of just don't chase him in training. Do your own thing. I knew, there's no, point of leaving your race out here on the Queen K, which a lot of athletes do. And so I just stayed in my lane, and, I kind of still had this, self-doubt, right? And it wasn't until, 48 hours before the race, I'm just sitting on the beach in Hawaii by myself, and I just had a moment with the island where and I still do this, I talk to the island, and I said, you know what, there's been so much to this lead up, whatever the result is, just let that go, and let that weight fall off your shoulders. Your family's here to watch you, all you have friends and teammates, and I'm starting my Ironman with one of the athletes I've coached for so long, Nicholas Lamb. This is such a beautiful moment. I just had a spiritual moment right on that beach in Kona where, Dave Scott and the guys before me have given me great advice, and continue to just carry that in the aspect of how I want to race and how I want to leave my mark on this sport, but also practice what I preach as a coach, right? Like I preach these things to my athletes, but yet sometimes I can go in there and self-sabotage myself with mental things that, I know I shouldn't be going down that rabbit hole, but it's so, so easy to fall into these traps. So you really need to be self-aware of what is my mindset going into this race and how do I change my perspective into one that's going to leave a positive mark.
Okay, so we get in the swim. And this is the fun part about it because I was spectating you the whole entire day because it was an absolute incredible. So you get in the swim, which you start with your whole age group in this world championship.
Yep.
So then you start the bike and you're in 14th place in your age group.
Yep.
So we get the bike, and if you ever flown into Kona, you can actually, when you're flying in, you see the whole entire thing off to Javi. And people don't recognize this, but you're going through, it could be sunny and perfect in Kona, and Keala Kona, and then you go up higher, and then the weather starts changing, and you get to Javi, and it's just like rain, and it could be different conditions. Like, it's always changing. The wind patterns are always changing, too. People don't recognize, too, is the island's alive, so it grows every single year because the lava keeps going. The lava rock is so hot that when the wind's blowing off the lava rock, it's like you're in a car with a heater. So it's a whole different condition. Yes, it's humid, it's tropical, people know that. But when you're on the bike, it's not just, you told me this when I raced 70.3 Hawaii. You're like, look at the person in front of you because all of a sudden their bike will go to the left or go to the right. Be prepared to handle that, right? And so all these different things started coming together. And so you start the bike, you're in 14th place, and then you start the run after the bike, and you're now in 9th place. So you're at a podium position. You start the run. What are you thinking? Did you know you're in 9th place? Do you know where you were at? Were you getting any splits or what were you doing?
I got a split off the bike, and I see my family, and I was feeling so good. So good. And I had paced that bike perfectly. Having done Kona before, I was like, this is actually 9th place, exactly where you want to be. I was like, I guarantee there's 4 or 5 guys ahead of me that blow up. There's probably some really strong runners right behind me. So it was like, just do your thing. But I had confidence that a lot of guys were going to go out, overpace it. And so I looked at my family and I looked at my dad. I was like, I got this. Like, I'm feeling good. Let's go have a day. And like, you can see those first like couple photos when I'm hitting Ali'i Drive, like, man, like I was just locked in. And I was ready for it. I was ready for what was to come. But like me and my coach, our mantra that day was like patience. And the other mantra, and it's funny because you actually said this at the start of the podcast, was believe, conceive, achieve. And like I continued to say those 3 words out loud to myself across that whole race. And there wasn't a moment across that race where I didn't feel like this goal was out of reach. I always felt like it was right there, like even a strong swimmer getting out of the water, like, 14th, right? Like that's the dynamics of Kona. Like that's how good it is. Like I'm normally a front pack, first out of the water guy. And so it's just like, you got to just chip away, and it's one foot after another. It's not jumping to these conclusions, but being present in the now. And, I would say like, I stuck with 9th probably for a long, long time, as you're going to see. And that's the story with Kona. I think a lot of people think like these gaps are sticking, I'm not going to come up. But like really the real race, and for anyone that's not aware of Kona, really the race doesn't start until like mile 18 of the marathon. And if you can run well coming out of the energy lab, and for reference, the energy lab is right at the turnaround point in Kona. It's one of the hottest places on planet Earth. The UV index, the heat coming off of that asphalt, it's just something that is indescribable.
No spectators either.
It's like you're running in a sauna.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can get out of that running well and run a lot of the Queen K on the way back is a bit downhill. So like if you have really good legs and you're feeling good, I mean, guys are broken. A lot of guys are now walking the course that like overpaced it. And, if you're running, low 7s to high 6s, and guys are running now, 8-minute miles, like, I mean, you can get a 10-minute gap in, 10 miles. So like you can really do a lot of work on the way back. And, that's really where I was locked in. And fortunately for me, I had my coach out there on my bike, so he was able to give me some splits. I come out of the energy lab and, okay, now I'm in 6th, I think.
Yeah, bro. So this is the backstory. So this is on TV, by the way. And so I'm tracking the tracker too. And so I'm just impressed that you're top 10 in your age group. Like I'm like, holy cow, you went from 14th, now you're ninth. And I'm just like, holy cow. You stayed at ninth place for the full 20 miles, and that's when the energy lab happened. And so I'm thinking like, oh boy, he's in the energy lab now. Like here's what happens. All of a sudden we don't get every single mile. There's not a tracker. It's like every 5K for the most part. So mind you, I know you're in ninth place, and then I see mile 21.4. All of a sudden, Chad shoots to sixth place, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, like he's feeling good. Like what's about to happen? So then take me through. Now you're at mile 21. You're coming back into town, right? You're in sixth place, and I'm like, you're still off the guy by about 45, 50 seconds too. Like it was a pretty decent gap. It wasn't like you were right on his tail. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you started putting the pace in. So talk me through now mile 21 through the mile 26.
Yeah, so I kind of got some information from my coach. He's like, that guy's like 45 seconds up the road, but you're moving faster. You'll catch him in a mile or two. So I see him, I catch him, and like Ironman's a game, a mental game. So I run by this guy. I make sure he's in my age group. I flip my bib around so he sees my bib number, and I run by him at like low 6 minute, like a good clip, and just let him know like you're not catching me. And then obviously I slow down after 100 meters of the pass, but it's mind games. Like I don't want him to think that he has a chance of reeling me in. I want to break him. So I'm like, boom, now I'm in fifth, right? And then I just keep moving along. I didn't even know I catched fourth because like I thought I was just sticking to fifth. And I had this other guy from China I think he ran a 250 marathon, just breathing down my neck. So, I'm just focusing on just staying consistent. Like the last 5K, man, I am hurting so bad, but I want this goal so much. Like, everything's starting to set in where you're starting to feel delirious, like your legs are wobbling. It's just like, that last 5K of an Ironman where you're just on your absolute limit, that's where I was. And I kind of knew the thing with Kona is like right before you get to Palani, which is that big hill down, and then you cut down on Alihi Drive. So that last like 2 kilometers is all downhill. And then once you get to Alihi, you have all the spectators and like adrenaline. So I was just like, I just need to get over that last hill and then be gentle on Palani. Don't do anything stupid. Don't cramp. And I get to the top of Palani, and another friend of mine is like, there's a 8-second gap with you and 6. Like you need to go now. And I'm like, oh God, like I've got to send it. So yeah, I basically like just limited like full 10 out of 10 as fast as I could take it to the finish line. And I finally get to the finishing chute. You have some confidence, at least in Kona, because you start with your age group. So I look behind me, I don't see anyone, and I'm like, amazing. I look out over into the crowd, and like I can see Jenna peeking her little head out, holding an American flag, and like, man, this makes my tears come up because like it was just like I told Jenna like years before, like it was a dream of mine to like cross the finish line in an Ironman World Championship with an American flag. And like we didn't even talk about it until 2 years later, but there she was holding it for me. And like to then grab that flag and just like I'm so prideful of this country, and to like race at a world championship on a global scale and like have that moment was something that I'll never forget, man. It's indescribable. The sense of just spiritual connection I felt to God, the conversation I had with God in that moment, like you can see the tears on my eyes. Like it's just so much like years of work and sacrifice that went into that race, and like just how difficult that day was, but never giving up. And I think this is just going to be a theme you're going to continue to see throughout like my journey in Ironman. Is it's just like never give up, always put one foot in front of the other. Your dreams are closer than you fathom sometimes. And I mean that's been the beauty of it, man. It's truly put me in a place where I've seen so many parallels with other areas of my life where it's like this sport has taught me so much. Like if I can just apply these same processes and this mental state to other areas of my life, like what else can I achieve? And that was kind of that moment where everything just sunk in, like, holy shit, I did it. Like I'm on the podium of the Super Bowl of triathlon. Like this is
One
is
of the
crazy.
most epic photos I've ever seen, because I saw the finisher shot and then it was you, and I'm looking at the tracker and I'm like, oh, he got it, he got fifth. And even you have American flag and then you hit, and then you're like fifth and they're like fourth, and you just, bro, you started like, I'm starting to cry, bro, because I was like, they look at that bowl and they don't realize like, yeah, it's a bowl. It's not just a bowl. It's everything, bro. It's years of in the man in the hurt pain cave of you wearing the sauna suits and all that, and times you don't want to do it, but then you're doing it because you have this goal. And then even when you're in the race, you're in the 5K and your mind's screaming at you like, stop, like, and then you're like, we didn't come this far to come this far, like, let's keep going.
Yep.
And then to grab that flag from Jenna, and that I didn't even know that moment wasn't even forged, like, that's such a beautiful natural moment. And to get that shot in Kona, it's like a Super Bowl of the whole entire race. So bro, like, it's so inspirational, because like, I'm honored to have you as my coach, because I have so much pride in you, just to see like not just the rewards and the accolades you have, but just the way that you got it. If you were ahead of the race the whole time, it wouldn't have been the story it is. It was mile 21. You go from 9th to 6th, and then you run yourself in the hardest place in the world after an Ironman to get this goal. And you go 8 hours and 43 minutes, which is absurd.
Yeah.
Absurd, bro. So it doesn't stop there. You now have obviously the highest highs, and everything is all great, and then all of a sudden there's emotional crashes. You kind of find yourself into a hole now of just like, now I just reached the pinnacle of what I thought was there, but then now what's next? And you kind of go into this emotional, kind of cave. I remember you go out to Ironman 70.3 Oceanside, and you do that race, which you weren't very happy with, I know. But again, it's like hard to go from Kona to the 70.3 Oceanside.
Yep.
And then right after that, you have a heavy bike crash.
Yep.
And now you're out for a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing all this like heights and lows. Like Ironman's never, and life is never like this either. It's highs and lows, right? And so we now are in the low section, where then you're probably like doubting things, and you're like, okay, I got to just go back to the basics and work back, right? I want to fast forward now into recent race, which is now the pinnacle of everything. So I'm now being coached by Chad, and he's going out to Ironman 70.3 Monterrey in Mexico, and I'm thinking like, all right, he's going to compete, right? I knew you probably had it in you, but I was thinking like, we're going to have a good race. I wasn't thinking what you were about to do, right? So Chad texts me, and he goes, I tell him I'm sick, and Chad goes, oh, bro, I'm sick as a dog. Like, I'm so sick too. He's like, I don't even know if I'm going to race. And I text you and I said, let those Mexicans see a white man fly, baby. Let's go. And now we get out to 70.3 Monterey, and this is just a couple months ago. Take me through how you're feeling getting into the race, what your expectations were, and what you really thought you could do that day.
Yeah, it's funny because going into the race, I like had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like I just didn't know if I was gonna race. Day before, 24 hours before the race, I called Jenna in tears, and I'm like, if I feel like I'm feeling tomorrow, like I can't race. And she's like, just be careful, don't race. But she's like, check your bike in, let's just see how you feel tomorrow. So I went through the whole process, but I just felt terrible. Like energy so low, still coughing up a ton of, mucus. And I was just like, you know what, it's not safe for me to race in these conditions. Like I have a whole season ahead, and I didn't want to dig myself into a hole. But I prayed on it the night before, and I asked God for some signs, and he gave me signs. And like something when I'm walking the streets the day before, like I went and got my hair braided, and like as I'm going and doing that, I see like a mural, and in Spanish it says, tomorrow is going to be a good day. And I was like, that's my sign. Thank you, God. So I went about my business as if I'm going to race. Went and got my hair braided, which was super fun. Jenna's like, you got to do that. You're in Mexico. And so, yeah, we did that. I was just like feeling good, went and got all the carb loading in, and I was like, you know what, let's get to bed early. Let's see how we feel. I wake up the next morning. I'm like, you know what? I feel pretty good. I'm like not 100%, but like gas tank is at 80. Like we feel good enough. Like I'm going to be really smart and strategic in how I race today, execute it extremely tactically, and see where I end up. And that was kind of my mindset. And it was a beautiful mindset because it was like, and a friend told me this after, he was like, be very afraid of an athlete on the start line with nothing to lose. And that's exactly what I had. I had nothing to lose because I was like, hey, maybe I DNF this race. Maybe I just go out and do it at an aerobic effort. Like, I had no expectations.
Okay, so we get into this insane race. You're obviously towards the front in the swim. You start a little bit farther back. It's rolling start.
Yep.
You now get on the bike and you start to make some ground. There's one other guy that was pretty up there. So it was really you. It was your in his race, and he was
Yep.
from Mexico as well,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so you guys are back and forth, back and forth. Talk me through the whole thing, because I think a lot of people probably thought that you knew where you were in the race and you were getting splits and all that, but that wasn't the case, right?
I really didn't know. I mean, I'm usually someone that I try to start the swim right at the start. And so for people in your audience that don't know, if it's not a world championship, it's an age group rolling start. So they're basically releasing 3 or 4 people in the water every 5 seconds. And the corral was just so packed. Like, I didn't go until probably the 20th wave. So I think this guy just started like 90 seconds ahead of me. And so like, I didn't know that though, right? Like, I'm on the bike. I could see a few guys ahead of me, and really where I knew like my position was the first turnaround. And that morning it's a little wet. It's a little foggy. Roads are slick. And, you know, I'm getting to the turnaround. It's where I can see the gap. I'm like, great. The guys are 15, 20 seconds up the road. Let's go catch them. So I come into that U-turn, super hot, back tire slides out. So it was a very clean crash because I kind of timed it, and it was just like a power slide, kind of roll on the ground, bottle flies out, get back on my bike. Luckily, just, you know, a little skinned up, but bike was fine. I was fine. That kind of actually flipped the switch for me. Like, it gave me this huge little boost of adrenaline, and I was like, the race is right there. Like, let's lock in. And like, my next 10-minute power is like push like 320 watts. And so then I finally caught the group at the next turnaround, and you know, I was riding with them a little bit. We were going through the cobble sections of Monterrey, and I was like a little cautious through those because I was like, I don't know how to ride a TT bike on cobbles. And then, you know, one of the guys that's from Monterrey like passes me an arrow like on the cobblestones. I'm like, all right, we're sending it. So then I'm riding with that group and get to the freeway. I got a big 62 chain ring on, and we're going on the tailwind section. So I'm like, as soon as we get to a little bit of an overpass with the downhill, I was like, I'm just going to use my 60 tooth and just put in a huge surge, drop those guys. So then I dropped that group, and then I basically rode solo. And it wasn't until I get off the bike that I can see the guys just getting off of his. So he's maybe 30, 40 seconds ahead of me in transition. And that's where I was like, oh, the race is right there. Like, let's go.
Dude, so we get into, so it's just really just you and him. There was like a 4-minute gap between third place. It was you and him in second.
Yep.
And really, you didn't know this because you were getting splits, but you passed him on the bike towards like mile 40, and you were in first place. But he kept getting in the checkpoint, and then it would wait a few seconds, and then you would go ahead of him. So it looked like if you were looking at the first checkpoint, he was in first because you're obviously backed on that. So you're not on the run, and you don't have any splits. You don't know where you are at all. Take me through the run and take me through, especially like the last like 6 miles, what you were thinking.
The run was absolutely brutal because like I was coming through a respiratory illness. So still had some wheezing, like coughing. I'm getting into it. I'm just like, this is going to hurt, but I want this more than it hurts. Let's just race. So I definitely wasn't racing at my capacity, but I was like, you know what? Like, even if this guy like goes and takes the win, like we're in a good spot. Like, hell, you could run a 130 and still probably top 5 overall. Like, let's just see what happens. It was kind of my mentality. It wasn't even stuck on winning yet because I still kind of was like, I don't know what I can do. So I'm like, you know, let's just take it out a little conservative. Lungs are burning, but I otherwise felt pretty good. And there's a good amount of like out and backs on the run. So that's where I can kind of get a split, right? I just loop my watch, see when I get past the next checkpoint where I looped him, and I'm like, gap is 40 seconds. Every time across that course, I keep getting gaps that I'm giving to myself. 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40. It's just sticking. It's not growing, nor is it coming down. And I'm like, damn, like we're just running straight on pace with each other. And I'm sure you could see that on the trackers, just back and forth. I didn't know he started ahead of me though. So I'm just like trying to get past him. And a couple K to go, I'm like, man, like I just can't pick it up. Like I'm giving it everything I have. And I, in the back of my head is like, I think this guy probably started ahead of me because I had such a good swim and bike. Like I never saw him all day otherwise. So I'm like, you know what? Just battle to the line. You don't know like where he started. Cause if he had a 60-second gap on you, you've won. And so that was in the back of my mind. And so I'm just like, let's just go execute the best final 5K I can. And I'm just trying to tick it over, blitz, try to get and close that gap as much as I can. And like the last 1K, I'm like, man, like I'm not going to catch him. He's right there. And this guy gives me a gap. He's like 20 seconds to first. I'm like, oh, he is right there. And I was like, I think I might have this. And so I'm like, just give it everything you got. The last like 400 meters, this is a cobblestone section, and I'm running like across an age group to make a pass. And like, I just completely rolled my ankle. And it's funny, like I just like hobbled on it for like 5 seconds and then just adrenaline hit. And I was just like, screw this. Like I didn't come this far. Like it's right there. So yeah, I'm just running the best I can off of this like rolled ankle. And, I'm just powering through to the finish line. Like, I don't know what I finished in. Like, I think I'm second, but like, for your listeners, like, he was ahead of me in the course, but technically I was ahead of him because I had started further back. So anyways, I get there, there's no tape. I'm like, okay, I must have gotten second. And so I crossed the finish line. I'm like, man, what a great day to like, what I battled through out there. I'm so proud of myself. And I look up at the timing map and shows his time, and then mine flashes under. And I'm like, wait, what? I just won by 20 seconds. And like, I immediately see the guy's face of just this look of disappointment. And then, it just sinks into me like, holy fuck, I just won an Ironman. Like, this is real. So yeah, I kind of went insane. Luckily the race director and everything was super nice, because they're like, yeah, your special moment, like you won the race. Do you want to go back out there and grab the tape? And I was like, of course I do. Of course I do. And so like, even though I didn't get to do it like instinctually, like with the race, like it didn't matter. Like you could probably see, just like the sheer excitement and like almost like built up anger I had, just like relentless like roar I let out, because it was like I wanted this goal so badly to like win an Ironman. Outside of my gold world champs, this was like always kind of the one right next to it. And for everything I battled through that day of like all these moments, I just wanted to quit how shitty I felt that entire race. I was like, of all days, this is it. And I was like, finally. And like, just had to let it all out, because it was like this deep frustration of like so many times being right there, like getting second in a race, and like just always it being so close, but just so far. And just to finally achieve it, man, it was like this monkey off my back.
One of the most epic videos I've ever seen, honestly. If you see the videos, we're going to pop that up on the edit, but just oh, dude, it fired me up when I saw it. It was so impressive just to see the whole thing. And like I said, it's not many people, and I'm blessed to sit across from somebody who's actually won an Ironman, because it's good enough for people just to finish one, right? Yeah. But to actually win it, and the way you did too, and the whole journey, is just like, it fires me up. So, okay, we got some big goals this year to wrap this thing up. We got Kona coming up, which is going to be the focus. What are you thinking? What's your goals, and what are we trying to do?
Yeah, right now what I'm really focused on is Ironman Jacksonville. I've won an Ironman 70.3, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to finish my amateur career winning an Ironman as well. The full distance means more to me. It's where I've always specialized and just loved that distance. So will probably be my last go as an amateur racing a full Ironman. We'll see what happens next year, but that's where I'm just going to leave it all on the table and see what happens. Again, the result is the result. I can't control if some guy comes out and goes sub 8 and beats me. Like, kudos, you deserve to win. But I'm going to go out with that being the focus. And then, yeah, Kona, I don't have a crazy goal this year. I felt like I've achieved my goal. Getting a top 5 in Kona was it. And a lot of people are like, well, do you want more from it? Like another top 5, first overall, top 3 overall. Like, sure. But like for me, like, and rewinding a little bit, after I won Kona was this high and then this empty feeling. And it comes back to why I race again. These results are great, but the feeling is fleeting. Mm-hmm. And it comes back into the roots of why I do it in the process. So for me, it's actually going out to Kona, enjoying what could be my last Kona for a long time, and leaving it all out there on the course in a way that I can inspire my following. Again, racing with heart, racing with love, racing with passion. That's how I want to leave my mark on the sport. It's not someone that throws in the towel. It's someone, and I want my athletes to see this, is it's like I face adversity too. But the day I give up and I DNF on a course is the day I quit the sport. There could be medical reasons or others, right, that you're forced to quit. But for me, it's just not in my DNA.
Yeah, man doesn't need 2 bowls to eat cereal, so you already got your 1 bowl right there.
Exactly.
So I like it. Bro, thank you for everything. This has been a great podcast. I'm just so honored to be one of your athletes and just to, walk in your footprints and just, get better and better every day. You've taken my career and just made me get the dreams I never thought were true. And we got a big dream coming up in August in Ironman 70.3 Philippines for me to get my first podium. So I'm really excited about that. I think I'm more excited that you're going to be out of my freaking age group. So now we get to I can get that one step up. But thank you, bro. I appreciate you. If you guys want to go follow Chad, it's at Chad Bykerk on Instagram. We're going to be putting out a lot of content, on this podcast. So looking forward to just following your story more. And hopefully my family can be out there in Kona to watch you and spectate you and just see you in real life and greatness. So I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you as well. And thank you for having me, guys.